In the college football world, just like the business world, if you are doing a good job as a young hot shot at a startup and Apple or Google wants you, they're going 5x, 10x your salary, and you don't have a choice but to go. So I have identified 12 players who are in the group of 5 and in the FCS that are going to be huge targets in the transfer portal, and people are going to be trying to pry them away from where they are right now. If you watch the video prior to the season where I gave you guys a list of offensive and defensive players that were transfers that were going to be huge impact players, pretty much all of them have come true. So this is the list that you need to see. First, though, make sure that you guys like, subscribe, get notifications, tell a friend about the show, and be one of us. Let's get to it. Let's get this thing started over there at North Texas, because they have a 6'2", 200-pound running back over there named Caleb Hawkins. And this kid has been tearing it up this year. In the 2 games against Army and Navy, 8 total touchdowns, and he has 19 on the season in his 9 games. And that was after getting in the end zone 5 times against UAB. He was a lightly recruited kid out of Oklahoma in high school, but most people wanted him to play DB. And when he got down there to North Texas, they ended up putting him on the offensive side of the ball, and that was a very, very smart decision. Now, he may end up wherever his head coach, Eric Morris, ends up once he gets out of the coaching transfer portal, but this is a name you need to watch. I got a name for you. And he's already transferred once, leveled up, played well there, and could be on the way again. That is Danny Scudero. He originally started at Sacramento State, and now he's at San Jose State. And the kid is only 5'9", but he's a dynamic athlete that, has a floor. A former NFL second rounder, Andy Isabella. The kid is fast. He is making great plays. And he's a menace like Steve Smith Sr. Scudero is leading the nation in receiving yards, and his presence as a deep threat makes it so. Safeties, they have to stay back and give help over the top. And the kid has been game planned against all season. And you might say to me, George, the last 2 games he's been bottled up, only 9 combined catches. But that's what happens when you are absolutely getting double teamed at every single turn. But when he gets to an FBS program, if he decides to go that route, please expect for him to be playing around in the slot, doing little juke routes and everything else. He has big time potential for a big time team. Now we got a quarterback on the list. We got Mr. Ty Pennington from Northern Arizona. Ty Pennington actually followed his head coach, Mr. Brian Wright, from Pittsburgh State over to Northern Arizona. And with only 1 year of eligibility left, it might be time for the 6'2", 210-pound quarterback to find his talents elsewhere to give himself a better chance to get on NFL radars. Now, in 2024, he had 30 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and won Big Sky Newcomer of the Year award. And this is a kid who looked incredibly poised in their game against Arizona State this year. He grew up outside of Stillwater. Stillwater is looking for a new head coach over there at Oklahoma State, and they may be looking for a new quarterback too, and he might be it. I want you to take a look at Caden Creel, quarterback from Jacksonville State. Houston and Georgia Tech have already leveled up their offensive game by using their quarterbacks, Connor Weigman and Haynes King, as part passer, part battering-ram. And this is where this kid comes in, because there may be a run on athletic, mobile quarterbacks who can take a pounding as well and are able to stay healthy throughout the year. Jacksonville State switched to Caden Creel midway through the season, and in his 6 starts, the kid has 102 carries, 662 yards, and he has led the Gamecocks to a 4-1 record. Can he throw? Do you want him throwing? I mean, did I mention that he can run? Because the kid is only a sophomore, though. So maybe even you bring him in as an emergency quarterback to an already established guy, and maybe you end up with a Trinidad Chambliss situation coming from Dixie State in this kid here. Now let's talk about quarterback Colton Joseph from Old Dominion. This kid and what he did to Virginia Tech was the straw that broke the camel's back and got Brent Pry fired. because he had 339 total yards of offense. Now, if you're looking for a quarterback that you don't want to just use as a battering ram, but is going to occasionally throw for 300 yards as well, and then give you another 50 to 75 rushing yards as well, then that's what Colton Joseph can be for you. This kid has had multiple 300-yard, 3-touchdown days, and he also had 179 yards rushing against Indiana this season as well. Yes, that's the same Indiana that has given up 69 rushing yards per game this season. We got another Jacksonville State player, their running back, Mr. Cam Cook. Sorry, Jacksonville State. I don't want to be the guy that's trying to rob your cupboard, but this is a kid who was at TCU last year. He was their leading rusher, but when you're playing in the air raid, you're not going to feel like you are getting the most use out of your talents if you are a running back, because that's not what the offense features. He went to Jacksonville State to get more carries and more opportunity, and all he's done is be the conference leader in both carries and touchdowns. And he is in contention to be the national leader in rushing this year. This kid is physical. He's got some speed. And then when you see him in that number 4 jersey, reminds me of a guy in the Arizona State jersey. Yeah, Mr. Cam Scudero, and the name too. Now we got to talk about wide receiver Chase Hendricks at Ohio. Unless Ohio University has another Parker Navarro waiting in the wings at quarterback, this actually might be the best chance for Hendricks to capitalize on being one of the leaders in the MAC in receptions and yards. This kid has 62 receptions for 858 yards this year, and he looked very, very good against Rutgers, West Virginia, and Ohio State this year. So you know he is on people's radars when they turn on the film watching those teams. So there's no question that a 200-pound, 6'2" wide receiver from St. Louis who can also return punts is going to be in demand. You know what else is interesting in this? Is that the season is not even over. He's got one eligibility year left, and he's already being followed on social media by player personnel staffers from Notre Dame, Arizona State, Virginia, West Virginia, SMU. Maybe it means nothing, or maybe it means everything. We're going to go to Southern Utah. This kid, Joshua Dye, is the power of self-belief because he started out at UTEP and touched a ball a total of 7 times. Then he drops down to the FCS level. And what has he done in 11 games? He's gotten the ball 277 times for 1,723 yards and 25 touchdowns. Yes, that is going to eye pop. And I saw the kid in person. He was absolutely electric. He is 5'11", 205 pounds, and has 9 different rushing games for over 150 yards this year. 8 multi-touchdown games, and he has 5 games with a rush of 40 or more yards. If that's not enough to get him back up to the FBS level and a nice check, I don't know what is. And I wonder how UTEP feels, thinking that this kid is over at Southern Utah, and he has over 600 more rushing yards as an individual as they have as an entire team. Just saying. Let's talk about tight end Dorian Thomas from New Mexico. Now, this is an interesting story because he actually did get recruited well out of high school. He was over there with Jed Fish at Arizona. And then when Jed Fish left to go to Seattle to go to Washington, he didn't take Dorian Thomas with him. And then the new Arizona head coach, Brett Brennan, he didn't play him much either. So then he went to New Mexico. This 6'4", 240-pound tight end has over 500 receiving yards this year and has had 10 catches and 2 scores against Michigan this year. Yes, that Michigan, the maize and blue. And this is the one thing that matters, is when coaches who play against Michigan, when they're watching Michigan film to break down and game plan, they're turning on the New Mexico film because you watch past opponents. And they're like, who the hell is this tight end on there? So it's not just Michigan that knows about this kid. It's everybody that Michigan plays as well. His coach, Jason Eck, he knows how to get talent the football. And listen, I'm not a proponent of leaving a great situation for a different situation all the time, but it is very, very difficult when we're talking about the type of money difference that these kids are going to be commanding. Now, if you're a major university or if Eck gets a head coaching job somewhere else this year, I don't think he'll be left behind this time. We got another running back, Landon Chambers from Central Arkansas. Maybe some coaches should have learned a lesson that if you dominate in high school in Texas at running back like Ashton Jeanty did, maybe you'll be good in college too. We're talking about a kid in Landon Chambers that had 4,000 yards of offense and 45 touchdowns in his last 2 seasons at Fossil Ridge High, that is north of Fort Worth. And after having a year of spot duty at Central Arkansas, Chambers earned rave reviews in the spring, saying that he looked like a workhorse and he was going to be the guy of the future. Now, at 5'11", 215 pounds, the dude has 8 consecutive 100-plus yard rushing games and started the season averaging over 4 yards a carry against an SEC team in Missouri. So you know that he's out there absolutely doing his thing. But maybe Chambers decides to stay a third year at Central Arkansas. But he already has a high school teammate that went from playing offensive line at Tulane to being over at Cal. So it would not be a surprise to see Chambers get that same level of elevation. Now we're going to stay in the state of Texas, the great state of Texas, but we're going to go to Texas State and talk about their wide receiver, Bo Sparks. If Texas State could actually play some defense, their head coach, J.G. Kinney, would actually be up for a lot of head coaching jobs at this point in time. But they're always playing from behind. So, yes, you get a chance to showcase your offensive talent a lot. But Bo Sparks, the wide receiver, who was electric in their 5-game losing streak, 33 catches, 629 total yards, and 3 touchdowns over that span, was absolutely showing out. This kid was a field steal freshman All-American last year and then leveled his game up this year to be a 1,000-plus yard wide receiver. And when you do a little bit of snooping through his social media to see who's following him, oh, it is a who's who from the Power Four. You got general managers, portal agents, and all sorts of people following him. So what do you think that they on there to see his takes? There to get them DMs, baby. Now we're going to head over to the offensive line. We got Brayden Zimmer from Montana State. You want to be careful not to pick a fruit before it's ripe. But Brayden Zimmer came to Montana State as a 6'6", 240-pound basketball standout, and then he got thrown to the wolves against Oregon and Mateo Uiagalelei in the first game this season. But his athleticism has people taking notice. He's a top 5 PFF graded offensive tackle at this point in the season. That means that there are some things that are jumping off the tape on some level. This is a kid that grew up as a Montana State fan, so he's probably happy being at home, but his upside is going to have a lot of Power 4 teams taking notice. And you don't want to ruin the kid's confidence by throwing him to the wolves a little bit early. So maybe he needs another little bit to cook, but they're going to be looking at him, his athleticism, and saying, "Ooh, this could be an Isaiah Worlds or a Harkey from Oregon." And this is a kid who we might be able to bring up a level, and he do really well. You guys, those are the offensive players that could be in the transfer portal this season and could make an impact on your college football team next year. If I missed anybody, drop them in the comments, man. Like, subscribe, get notifications, and be one of us.